This is Oculus, the alien next door, and today we're going to be just talking about Saturn and how embracing your Saturn in your birth chart actually is beneficial, not restrictive like everyone claims Saturn is. So astrological Saturn actually can help us manifest our goals and our desires and our soul life purpose quicker than we ever imagined. And I have some steps here because I was actually channeling Saturn the other night, which is really weird. So I do have some steps, and if you are interested in knowing how to channel your inner Saturn to bring out your best life, then this video is for you. So let's get into it. I'm going to give you a brief introduction to Saturn, which is the Lord of Capricorn. And Capricorn, Saturn, they rule the 10th house, which is the highest point on the natal chart, which is also known as the midheaven. And the midheaven is outer success, greater success, public recognition, things like that. So Saturn actually ties into that with our soul life purpose, because, you know, if you think about it, in the way that you are most recognized, at least for you, and that's all that matters, is what you recognize in yourself, right? What that ties into, what you're recognizing, you're the most fulfilled when you're living out your soul purpose here on the physical plane. So the 10th house actually, you know, it'll correspond a lot to, you know, what you're kind of meant to do here, what you wanted to do here, which is why Saturn is known as the planet of karma. Now, I don't mean karma in a way where what goes around comes around, you know, you've all heard that nonsense, right? So karma in the term of Saturn basically means before we came to this planet, you know, our souls wanted to learn a life lesson here, you know, something that we wanted. And so we essentially made an agreement with, just stay with me, we essentially made an agreement with specific planets, which is how the natal chart actually affects us now. Like if you read your natal chart, be like, oh, that sounds like me, right? So we're talking about Saturn. So we made an agreement with Saturn, right? Because that is the planet of karma, you know, and Mars, Pluto, Uranus, Neptune, all of that could be another video. But the soul purpose is actually attached to Saturn because he is known as karma. And that's the lesson that we want to learn, which is why Saturn is actually a great teacher in that area. So before we came into this body, we said, you know, Saturn, I would like you to be here, blah, blah, blah. You want to learn whatever lesson it is, right? It's different for everyone. If you know your Saturn placement, well, I'll leave a link and instructions how to find your Saturn, because, you know, I don't want to make this video too long. But anyway, if you do know your Saturn, or let's say you find it out, you'll really look at the house where Saturn sits in, and you'll look at the sign placement of Saturn. And in that area, because this is prior, okay, this is prior to what I channeled the other day, which is what I didn't really think this, it didn't really resonate with me, and now I know why. But prior thinking is Saturn is limitations, Saturn is restrictions, Saturn is, you know, like father time and you know, all of that type of stuff. Like, and Saturn does have a reputation as, you know, it doesn't have a reputation like Jupiter, where Jupiter is like, hey, you know, and all bubbly and like benefic. No, so Saturn has a really bad reputation, and he should not have a bad reputation because, number one, you chose him, okay? So the area that Saturn is in your chart is an area that you may find patterns repeating itself and repeating and repeating and repeating, right? Because Saturn, pattern, follow me here. No, anyway, I got a little cornball for a second, but Saturn, just remember, Saturn is patterns. So whatever house your Saturn is in, and whatever sign it is in, because it is different for everyone, you will tend to notice that there are repeating patterns there. And I'm not saying that there can't be patterns in other areas of the natal chart, but the Saturns will be the most noticeable to you. And that'll be an area that you really want to succeed in, and you're just like, why the fuck is it not happening? Right? You're just like, what's going on? You know what I mean? Which is why Saturn has a reputation for hard work. But the thing is, when we come into this body, we've chosen already. I've already stated that. We've chosen what we wanted to work on in this lifetime. So until you remember what you're here for, what your soul made an agreement for, you're going to keep repeating the same pattern until you wake up. So that's why Saturn, what he conveyed to me is, you know, the Lord of Karma, which basically once you recognize your karmic journey, which Saturn is here to point out, right? Like, you're here to like learn that because you want to learn that. Your soul opted for whatever reason, and you know why. You know what I mean? Everyone knows himself. So the area that Saturn is in, and then when you find it out, you might be like, what? Like a light bulb moment, whatever, right? So, you know, you might have struggles in other areas of your chart, but no, Saturn is the one place, that one house, that one sign that you're like, what is going on? And it kind of forces you to wake up because, you know, you're stuck in that area. And this is how I'm kind of, you know, tying it together with manifestation and law of attraction, because as I said, your soul purpose, in order for your soul to feel, I can't speak. In order for your soul to feel fulfilled, right, it wants to do what it came here to do, basically. And until you know, if you're asleep, quote unquote, that term, you know, asleep and awakened, right? So when you're asleep, you're just going to be going through patterns on autopilot. And that's why Saturn is like, you know, it's not, he's not going, I don't want to call, I always refer to planets as he, so don't mind me, I sound like I'm psychotic, but it's all good, we all are, right? So he basically is like, well, listen, you made this agreement with me before you came into this body, so, and Saturn, right, being the stern father figure, is like, well, you know, he wants to be like the perfect law-abiding citizen, like, well, you made this agreement, so until you see that you made this agreement with me, you're going to keep repeating over and over again, because Saturn doesn't want you to, he's going to kind of keep you in his house, right, in that house, because it's his house, he's in that house, and he's like, well, you didn't learn the lesson yet, you didn't learn the lesson yet. And in a way, Saturn is kind of like, I don't know what to call it. I don't want to say parent because that's too much of an umbrella term, but Saturn is kind of like a guardian. I mean, not that that's not another umbrella term, but Saturn is, he kind of guards you, right? Because you're making the same mistake, but your soul, because you keep making the same mistake over and over again, Saturn pattern, because you keep making the same mistakes over and over again until you wake up and you're ready to actually leave that house and to actually, you know, fulfill what your soul came here to do. Saturn is, he knows you're not ready, so he's going to keep you there. So Saturn is really protecting you because he knows, right, that because he's not bound by like a human ego, he knows that you made this agreement with him, that's what you wanted to learn. So he's essentially a teacher. So if you want to call that restrictive, or if you want to say, you know, Lord of Sorrow, or like, that's just bashing him, okay? Like, let's not bash Saturn, because Saturn is actually what you really came here to do. The area, the number, there's 12 houses in the astrology chart. The house, right, where Saturn is placed and the sign that Saturn is in. I guarantee you, if you look at your chart right now, or if you just know offhand, you are going to see that a little bit of what I'm talking about. Okay, maybe not everything, maybe, you know, not everything of this video is going to resonate with you, but if you're watching this right now, I bet you that something will. So I really want to get into the steps of how you can break free of that and how you can free yourself of that limitation, that restriction. And you know, until you're fully aware of something, it's just gonna keep going on and on and on and on. You know what I mean? Like just a merry-go-round. And you know what I mean? Different people are gonna get on, different people are gonna get off, and you're still on the merry-go-round, and you're like, what the fuck am I doing? So Saturn wants to liberate you, but you have to give him a chance to do so. So number one, my number one step is identify where your Saturn is in your natal chart and what sign he's in. And then in that area, like knowing what the different houses mean and knowing what the different signs mean, you will see a commonality between your perceived limitations here, like where your patterns are, where the depth of your pattern is, something that you really want and it just doesn't seem to be happening. Okay, so that's step number one. Step number two is recognize, once you've identified the pattern, recognize the house, recognize the sign, see what you want to get out of that. Like, what is it that your soul is craving? And you already know, obviously, you know on a subconscious level, but just try to see what you want to get out of it and make a plan, okay? Like, whatever your goal is, you know, pertaining to that sign in that house. I'm gonna say sign and house a million times in this video, but so would you make an intention of what you want to get out of it, right? Then this is gonna sound really oddball and fucking crazy, but you have to give gratitude. You have to do it. You're not going to manifest anything if you are not grateful for having it prior to having it. Okay? You are not going to manifest anything if you are not grateful for it before receiving it. Should I drop the mic if I had a mic? I don't know. But that is so true, and that's kind of the most misunderstood thing. So you're going to thank Saturn, okay, step 3. Thank you, Saturn, for showing me what I wanted to see in this lifetime. Thank you for the lesson. I have learned my lesson, okay? Have to do it. That's a must. I mean, that's a must with any manifestation, but especially here, okay? So the fourth step is you are going to embody the traits of the sign and the house placement that Saturn is in. So let's say you have Saturn in the 4th house, which is the house of home, and you have Saturn in Cancer, and that's the natal home base of Cancer. But whatever, so let's say you have Saturn there. So you are going to want to embody like homey, loving. You want to become more emotionally inclined. You know, you're gonna want to embody the traits of Cancer and traits of the 4th house, okay? And that it depends where, you know, as I said, it's going to depend on your particular Saturn. You're going to want to embody those as you're like as you're taking forward movement towards your goal, whatever it is. Let's say, you know, 4th house Saturn, you know, maybe you really want to buy a home, you really want to buy like a mansion where you can feel safe and secure with your loved ones and have that like close-knit family unit, but for whatever reason, like the deal keeps falling through, or you haven't found the perfect house, or your home life is somehow interrupting you from having that perfect dream house that you want, just an example. But what you're going to want to do is, as you keep searching for that dream house, you are going to embody the traits of the 4th house and of Cancer, okay? And as you embody that and you put action into it, it might not happen the first time, it might not happen overnight, but that's the whole purpose of Saturn, because now you have already thanked in advance for what you want and you're ready to receive it. And Saturn is like, okay, you know, like you've learned your lesson, now you're free to do whatever you were always free to do whatever you wanted. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that no one has free will, but just for the purpose of speaking about Saturn and how it can affect us astrologically and whatever, you know, your soul always knew what you wanted to do, but now you're consciously aware of it. So that's kind of the point I'm trying to make. Saturn's like, okay, now you're aware, now you're smart enough, I can let you out of the house and you're free to, you know, not repeat the same pattern, okay? You're not going to repeat the same pattern again once you become aware of it. And this is how you go about attaining what you want. You embody the traits of the sign, embody the traits of the house. Now, you embody the traits of Saturn. This is the best for last. It is the most difficult one, though, because Saturn does not give up. Saturn perseveres. Saturn is persistent. Saturn follows the rules. I don't know if you wanted to hear that, and everyone has their own set of rules for them. So whatever you feel ethically inclined to do, and I say ethically because if you feel like shit making a move, then the outcome is going to be shitty, I guarantee you. So you have to follow your own ethical rules, okay? After you've done all that, and you know that you're now out of that trap, not trap, I don't want to use this weird terminology, but you get what I mean. After you're out of that cycle, okay? That cycle. Because remember, Saturn has a sickle, sickle, okay? Why does Saturn have a sickle? Because he cuts shit off. So you can cut that delayed karma out. You can cut it out, okay? Because if you cut ties with karma, because every soul came here with some sort of karma, which is the whole purpose of Saturn. Once you cut ties with that, once you've recognized, once you've learned the lesson, Saturn is like, okay, you know, do what you gotta do. But you have to embody his traits in that area. You have to persevere. You have to be persistent. You have to just not give up. You have to know that you're going to succeed, and you have to work. And this is the good news, is that this area, because it's your soul's purpose, you're going to want to work at it. You're going to want to put in the effort. So it's not going to be like, you know, drudgery every day, like stuff you don't want to do. It's going to be, you're going to be excited to do the work, but you have to get into that mode of embodying Saturn and walk around and be like, with that Saturn confidence, you know what I mean? With that Saturn energy, with that fix, that not rigid, but you get what I mean, like that just solid energy, okay? You don't want to, you know, you don't want to procrastinate, you don't want to be flaky. You want to know that this is a gift from you to you. Corny again, yes, but you want to know that it's a gift from you to you, and you're willing to put in the effort for it. And you know, you might have to sacrifice. Like, let's say you're an entrepreneur and you have to have like a few sleepless nights working till 3 or 4 in the morning. Hey, I mean, it's gonna work out. But embody the traits of Saturn. Okay, so identify where Saturn is, recognize how it's affecting you and what you want. Give thanks to Lord Saturn, and embody the traits of the sign in the house that he's in. And then finally, we embody his traits. And then whoosh, with that Saturn sickle, we cut ties to those Saturn patterns, those cyclical, like karmic, like over and over and over again, because now we've awoken and we realized what we were doing. So that's really just basically what I channeled the other night, and I know that it will resonate with people on here, whoever you are, because, you know, I wouldn't be compelled to make this video if it didn't. So again, this is Oculus, the alien next door, and if you have any questions about how to find your Saturn, or you know, anything, you know, just leave a comment. And if you liked this video, be sure to give it a like, so I know if, you know, I should post more astrological videos or videos like this. But anyway, you will enjoy your day. That is your intention, to enjoy the rest of your day. And Namaste, blessed, because you are.